Welcome back. I'm Miss Jen, and this is Talking Shop. Just want to remind everybody that the best way to find out what we're doing and when is to ring that bell so you get notified when we're going live. Sign up for the the mailing list here. It's a QR code. It's so easy. You just scan that bad boy and get signed up. We only send one email a week, so we're not going to annoy the fire out of you. We are not like that. My best friend, according to the internet, is Joanne's Fabrics because she sends me a message every daggum day. We're not those people. All right, so I'm super excited about our next guest. Please welcome Dan DiDio.
I'm here. Hello. How are you?
Bringing us pork chops, I have been assured.
I know I did. I was cooking, so that's why I just had to make sure they got out of the oven fine. So we're good now. Okay.
So you baked them?
Yeah, I baked them. It's a little bit of I come home. I have a small office here in Tampa that I go to for most of the day. Then I come home, whip something up fast, and then just back to work again.
Do you have like a specialty for things that you cook?
No, cooking. No, this is. I hate to say it. I went low rent today. I did a little shake and bake just to get it done fast. Nothing too fancy today. That's for the weekend.
When you have a family to cook for, it's the most important thing is that it's edible, and that's all that matters, really.
That's about it. Yeah. Trust me, we got a teenager in the house, and he's indiscriminate about what type of food it is, as long as it's food.
So does your teenager do like mine do, where they have like first and second breakfast and first and second lunch? And
oh, it's just a nonstop eating extravaganza. There's always got to be food around. So I'm waiting for them to get back to from school now. So we'll see.
I remember it being like that, especially since I did sports. I don't know if you were a sports person, but it's just like, well, like you could never have enough calories.
Yeah. Eating all day long after the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then somehow, I don't know if this is everybody, I could eat right before a game and be fine.
That's right. We got to bring the shake and bake here. You and me. We do it now.
Hey man, everyone asks the same dumb questions. I want to know about food habits. Where else are you going to get that info?
That's it.
So you've been really, really busy.
Yeah.
You've set the world on fire by doing a really sweet thing, and got these sent to the LCSs to get everyone super hyped about this new awesome project Frank Miller presents, which lest anyone gets confused, it is not just going back and touching on a Ronin. This is going to be a huge universe that's being built. A bunch of different things. Was this something that was born of did you just hang out at a convention and be like, it'd be cool?
I stayed in touch after leaving DC. I stayed in touch with Frank, and we had done. I had helped him on a project that he was doing. He was doing NFTs, and I helped him meet the people that were setting it all up. And we were talking about comics. And as the story goes, he actually asked me if I was interested in editing a book that he wanted to create for DC, and I said, yeah, I don't think they'd accept that. But if you want to do something away from there, I'm very interested. It's weird because we started talking about Ronin, and interesting to talk to Frank about Ronin because he's had a sequel to Ronin since the conclusion of the first series, which now I'm at DC for almost 20 years. This is the first time I hear this. Okay. So it was this weird moment. I said, I'll make you a deal. If you want to do that sequel to Ronin, I'll do it with you, but it wouldn't be a DC. You should do this as a separate entity, a separate company. And I think that's what really intrigued him because as we were both talking back and forth, a lot of his conversation was about legacy. And it even became even more important after Neil's passing because Neil was such a mentor to him. And about what you leave behind and what you can do. And it wasn't just about leaving behind a body of work, but also about the transfer of knowledge and all the information that he's learned about making comics from so many great creators over the year. He wants to pass that on. I too felt like I wanted to do things that I felt slightly unable to do while I got at DC as well. So we thought about creating our own little company where we can basically put up or shut up, so to speak, get a chance to do the types of books we discuss. And if they work, great. And if they don't work, you have no one to blame but yourself, which is okay too, by the way. So it's a lot of fun to be doing that. And for me, let me tell you this, it's a lot different. I'm going to tell you something secret. It's a lot different doing a book on your own than having 160 people helping you.
I'm going to ask you, like, what are the things that surprise you the most about the production of comic books when you're kind of like the person that's like stirring the pot, making the pork chops,
exactly, and not burning them or shaking them too hard. Barcodes. You have to pay for barcodes. Did you know you got to pay for barcodes? I didn't know you had to pay for barcodes. There's a whole company that sells barcodes. You got to buy barcodes.
Now I understand the conversations that retailers have in the background where they're like, someone reused a daggum barcode. Yeah. Like, why does that matter? Because our system doesn't use the barcodes on the books; it generates our own. So now I understand why.
Yeah, no, we had to buy a block of barcodes. So it's like, and you have to buy one differently if you do a second printing or a variant cover. Everybody gets their own barcode. Yes, I knew that, but having to actually do it, two different things.
And now the chore becomes make sure that those things match when they get printed.
Yeah, I mean, today was the funny day. Today I'm sitting here, and you're sitting here thinking you're all done, and I'm like, oh no, I need my second covers for previews in 2 weeks, and I'm calling everybody up, getting covers ready, and it's an interesting. Once you get in the rhythm of it, it's I guess it's a little bit easier, but it's an interesting system, and actually I love the fact doing it sleeves roll up and doing it all. It's kind of fun to be on the ground, looking up and getting it all done. It's this incredible sense of ownership that comes with working on product like that, and honestly, when it comes out, it's like you have the pride of having it come out, but almost it's something you don't believe you actually got it made in some ways.
I'm assuming that you're already previously a very organized person. Is this true, or did you have to get yourself back to that?
I had to get back into it a little bit. I have to admit, 2 years off from that, and develop a new rhythm, which is a different set of skill sets and what to keep and what not to do. And it's funny because when you have a whole system behind you, it's easier because somebody's going to catch you. But when you don't have somebody there to catch you, you're spending an inordinate amount of time double and triple checking to make sure everything's done. And just the follow. I guess people must be sick of my follow-up emails. I'm always making sure you got it. Ring once for yes, ring twice for no. I don't know, just anything to make sure we got our books. But I'm having a blast. You could probably tell. I had done some consulting work during as I say, my COVID vacation, and during now that the vacation is over, it's fun to be working and getting books made again and talking to people about characters and story and getting excited when new pages of art come in and having that level of energy again is a lot of fun. It just reminds you why you want to be in this business,
Oh yeah, every once in a while people will ask about retirement. And I'm like, I just don't know if my brain understands what I do when I'm not doing this. So I'm sure that you had a nice.
Well, I had it even worse because once I left DC, all I got was retirement information because I was of that certain age, and they're sending me all these forms and things, and I'm literally ripping them up. I don't know if there was money in those envelopes. I don't know what's going on. I'm like throwing, no, you're wrong. But every once in a while, every time I wake up after a long day, I think they were right, and I just didn't listen to them.
No. I feel like, I don't know. I think comics keep people like us young.
I know. It's interesting, and it's funny to look at the comics business now, and I look at the variant covers and all that's going on, and I'm looking at things, and actually, this is one of the things that prompted Frank and I. We're looking at stuff. And when you see the people getting excited about homage covers, they're homaging something from 40 to 50 years ago, and they talk about it like it just happened yesterday. You realized how much stuff hasn't moved on in a weird way. And part of what we're doing, even though it is a sequel to Ronin, it isn't something that we feel is just a replication of what had come before. It's a complete different reinvention of the story. It's one of the reasons why Frank didn't want to draw it. He didn't want that one-to-one comparison. As a matter of fact, the only book that Frank is actually drawing for Frank Miller Presents is going to be the Sin City Western, Blood and Dust. And that's because it's a new concept that only he wants to write and draw. So that's what's so exciting about that one. But I've been showing people that's the one. Exactly, yeah. And he's getting started on that right now. And but if you look, and we're going to do at some point, I've got Frank's layouts from Ronin. And what Frank did is that rather than write scripts, he does layouts for Philip Tan and Daniel Enriquez, and he does full layouts from them. And if you look at the layouts, we could have probably published the layouts for the most part. You could see they were getting more complex as they were going, as he was getting more into the story. And maybe we'll do that at some point, but watching Philip and Daniel do the interpretation of Frank's layouts is what's intriguing, because it's moving. And if I could go on, what's interesting is when I talked to Philip Tan, he repeated a lot of things that Andy Kubert said following working with Frank on Dark Knight 3. And these are seasoned veterans, with 15. Philip had 15 plus year. Andy, I think he was drawing at 3, if I'm not mistaken. but it was intriguing to listen to them both, hear how they were learning, working with Frank, and that's exactly what he wants to do. So, he's working with every artist. The third book that's coming out in December is Pandora, Frank Miller's Pandora, which he did the designs, the initial designs, but really Emma Kubert, Andy's daughter, is the artist on the book, and it's beautiful. And that's a tip of the iceberg. The interior pencils are gorgeous. And
this was just a horrible tease right here in the middle of
it is. And so we have all this great energy coming in, and you can see the artists talking to each other and interacting. And we agreed straight out of the gate that this was going to be artists first, and let the artists really get a chance to put their stamp and fingerprints on it, much like the artists did in past times. And I think you really get a renewed sense of energy in the books when everybody has that sense of ownership of the material. Even the artist that I'm working with, Danila Beyruth, I had a very structured style in the start of that book, and it was run for a very particular reason. And then I said, once I got past that sequence, I said, open up the storytelling to the way you want to do it. And when those pencils came in, I was actually angry at myself for putting him on a structured schedule at the start when I saw how brilliant his layouts were. And when we got on the first issue, I didn't even do a page-by-page outline. I just gave him a story outline. I said, here it is. You got this many pages. Spread it out. Make it work. And he turned in this beautiful 64-page layouts and thumbnails, and had 2 notes. That was about it. And he went off to the races after that. But when you have that rapport and that excitement, you feel a book coming together in a great way. And it's great for the story to excite the artist, and it's great for the artist to excite the dialogue, and it just elevates the material,
So what we're talking about is the Ancient Enemies book.
That's right.
And so the part you're talking about, the layout that you specifically had given, is that the storytelling the way that you have it, where it is from the 2 different races?
Yes, exactly.
Being paralleled?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was 2 parallel stories being told where same things were happening just in a different way, and it was able to cut back and forth. The conversation was able to continue between 2 worlds back and forth if you follow how the story goes, and it gives you the backstory between the 2 different points of view. And that's part of the whole story, is that there's these 2 opposing points of views that have been at a millennial-long war, just been fighting forever. There's ultimate hatred on both sides. They're both at the brink of destruction, but they won't give up their fight. And the fight continues to move to other people taking it over, and they continue the fight without understanding what they're fighting about anymore. But the hatred just keeps on. And the idea is, how do we break this cycle? And that's sort of the theme of the story as it develops. But there's lots of twists and turns, and the thing is that by these aliens coming to our world, new heroes start to arise from that, and then all of a sudden people start choosing sides, and it gets a lot of and it's a lot of fun. And I saw the note about 64 pages. The thing with the Frank Miller Presents for almost all our books is going to be 48 pages or larger on a bi-monthly scale. And I'm doing that because I think it's a more a satisfactory read. I feel like books are cut so quick, and there's so many things, and you're barely getting a single thought in an issue now. And I'd like to get somebody to walk away with a good experience after reading the issue. It might have storylines that continue on, but the book itself should feel complete in its own right. And by putting it out at a couple of months at a time, it gives people a chance to really absorb it and enjoy it, and also gives the artist time to draw it, so I don't have to fill them in after every two issues or so,
And it's kind of the way people are moving toward enjoying their reading. They kind of partake of their comic books now in the binge way that we look at TV.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of people that are kind of like moving toward the graphic novel, where they buy all of the individual issues but don't read them until they have all of them. So
yeah, and honestly, that's some of the thinking and the logic they're going into. The only ones that are shorter are going to be the two Sin City books. They're going to be 24 pages each, mainly because Frank's working with Mila Manera, and that's about how much he could turn in for us. So we worked the story to his schedule, and then Frank also is working in smaller bites, also just because that's his nature. But with Ronin, he's actually laid out every page is a double page spread. So it's a double page spread with multiple panels on it, and it's really quite dynamic stylistically, and that's the goal, is to make this as visually exciting as possible, bring people in with the visuals, and hope the story brings them back the next issue after that.
If anyone's out there that hasn't been able to get a hold of the Ash Can yet, do not fret.
No.
This week, your LCSs had access to order the second print on their FOC, and I'm sure that they ordered a lot because the demand was really high for these.
I know you got 3 there. I'm pretty good.
I thought it was pretty cool because the only difference, just so you guys know, first print looks like this. Second print just reverses these two images.
Yeah,
so
yeah. And it's funny, the bottom image is a character called the Geek, and that also goes to Frank's relationship with the line. Ancient Enemies is an idea that I've been working on for a long time. It's actually something left over in my head, juggling around, that could have some ties to a thing called Ultimate DC, but that's another story. Anyway, but here I had something all figured out, but Frank wanted to be involved in everything, so he actually created the Geek character as a character to drop into the story. And as I looked at the character, I said, yeah, see, this is what's great about working with other people, is he created something that I don't know how to think on, and I don't know how to create. So by doing that, it brought in a completely new dynamic to the story, and it helped me expand some of the ideas that I was working on. So it was fun to do that. Besides that, and with Frank, with everything we do, it starts off as a joke and then ultimately turns into a character in a story. I don't know how, but it turns into something.
Sounds like pure joy.
Yeah, we're having it's a lot of fun to be doing that, because I love that level of energy. And we were working actually on our next set of books. We have 4 titles basically coming out of the gate to launch with. We're never going to go too big, and I have another 4 titles that somewhat replace some of them and a little additive along the line. But it's fun to see this going on. And the good part also is that there are a lot of creators that want to work with Frank. Not me so much. Much him. No kidding. But they only want to pay raises from me.
You're the boss.
But with Frank, they really want to work with them and interact with them, a lot of the artists. And so we're trying to find a way to bring other creators' projects into the mix too, and we're going to find a nice blend down the line.
So what is your publishing schedule? Is it set to have a couple titles coming out in a month?
Yes.
More?
No, right now we're set for two titles a month, probably for the first 6 months. And I can honestly tell you, I don't see more than 4 titles per month for the first almost year and a half to 2 years, just from the sheer volume of things that we need to build. Plus, also, you got to understand, working on 48 pages and longer storylines, we have to stockpile a lot of material as we're building. I mean, Frank's working on issue 3 of Ronin. Issue 2 is already about a third of the way through. Things are moving on that pace. So the first 2 books come out the Wednesday. Ronin and Ancient Enemies comes out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then 2 weeks later is the first issue of Pandora. And then we go into the new year. And then you'll see the issue 2 of Ronin with January, and issue 2 of Ancient Enemies, and then the first Sin City with the second Pandora, and then so on and so on and so on from there. Yeah,
this will be awesome. So what else can you tell anybody something new that you've learned about self-publishing that?
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's
an interesting thing, and I used to joke about it in the job, just about maintaining the energy of the line, and also keeping people talking. And now it's different when you only have 3 or 4 properties, and you have to have people. You got to keep those ideas fresh and constantly remind people of them over a 3-4 month period of time before they actually hit the stands. And when you only have that few product, you're finding you're stepping on your toes, and you're afraid of releasing the same information. So how do you keep the rhythm of the line different? How do you keep the conversation going? But what's good about it is that Frank and I got out in front of it. We're talking about everything. The solicitation's out there now, and then after that, the talent is starting to show some of the interior art. And I'm of the mindset beat into me by the retailers, by the way, of that you can't really spoil a story, so you might as well show people what you got, and get people excited. If it excites me or it excites Frank, then we should put it out there for the fans to see, so it excites them too and wants to participate in what we're doing. But it's an interesting turn, because the hardest part about this, and it's really Frank's job more than mine, but it's what reality is. He's been such an advocate for creator rights for so long, almost throughout his entire career. And to be perfectly honest, when you become a publisher, you have to put yourself almost in a slightly adversarial relationship with the talent occasions because of how you work. Trust me, I was there. And he used to be my adversary, which is why we know what these two worlds were all about. So the fact that we are the producers of the books, we have to be very aware of the creative rights and make sure the creators feel comfortable with everything going on. Because quite honestly, you don't want to get yourself into that situation where you are doing something that you railed against while you were just the creator and not the publisher itself. So we're very much aware of that, and we want to make sure that everybody's involved in the process. And one of the reasons why we keep a tight line, that and the fact that Frank likes to see everything and comment on it, rightfully so. He says to me all the time, my name's on this. I better see everything that goes out under my name. I'm not going to validate or justify anything unless I've seen it, which is great, because you want that level of involvement, but it also is a bit of a bottleneck. So it's working out all those systems and ideas. And as always, we started early, but it's amazing how quickly you burn through all your lead time just trying to get to where you are. But it is so far so good. I'm really happy with the first couple of books. And honestly, I didn't talk enough about it, but what Emma Kubert's doing with these I have 2 new writers, Chris Silvestri and Anthony Marinville, and those 2 guys working with Emma is kind of interesting. That's the 3rd generation. She's 3rd generation. She's Andy Kubert's and Frank is very proud to say that he's worked with all 3 generations, as have I worked with all 3 generations of Kuberts. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But I've known Emma since she was a kid. I mean, little kid. So it's kind of, but she's there sketching and drawing every step of the way. She is having a blast. But she's working with these 2 writers. The 2 writers came from they were working on things like Star Trek Discovery and things of that nature. So they come from the Star Trek world, so they have a good sense of the fantasy and the sense of the world building that I think is essential to what's going to be happening with with comics. Oops, yeah, probably would prompt you out for that. Yeah, no, but Emma's been great, and like I said, we have some more guys that we're looking to down the line, and we really want to make this a real fun showcase style for the visual sense of the books that we're trying to bring. And Frank, and if you notice, the thing that's important here is that one book is heavy science fiction action, which is Ronin. One's a little more straightforward superhero storytelling, which is Ancient Enemies. And then you have this sense of fantasy, young adult fantasy going on with Pandora. And then you have Sin City with film noir. And then you even have a Western on top of that. And the goal was never to be pigeonholed into a genre, but more importantly, spread out across as many genres as possible, but let the style of storytelling and the visceral sense of what we're bringing to it be the real indicator of what these books are about, rather than locking yourself in one particular form. I always get nervous when I look at things say one company leaned on one character so much that over 50% of his line was that one character. If you kick that leg out of the stand, you fall over. You never want to put too much weight on one thing. You want to really spread it out. So if one thing doesn't work, you have so many other ways to support yourself. And that's some of the approach that we're doing here with the publishing.
Such wise words. You guys, listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. Any of you guys out there that are creators or people that aspire to be creators. So, where's the right place for people to follow for information on the whole line? I know they can follow you. They can follow
I think our website. I think we have our website up and running now. It's frankmillerpresents.com. We actually have a website that we're going to be previewing a lot of our material on. We're just getting started and still getting. I'm more concerned about getting the books done than getting the website. So you got to forgive me for a moment. I have to prioritize. So the website's up and running. We're on. I think it's FMP. On Instagram and Twitter, and we got a couple of places out there. We're feeding out information all the times, so we're having some fun with that. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, one thing I didn't mention, I have to say this now too, because these are two things which part of my bugaboo that we worked into our plan here. First of all, there's only one variant cover per book. Frank's going to be doing the majority of them, or if not all of them, at the start. Which I think is important to make sure there's a visual sense of him on all the books that are launching here. So that's good. We didn't want to go wider with that. Had a lot of people ask me to go with exclusive covers and other things of that nature. But to be quite honest, didn't make any sense to me at the long run. It didn't make any sense at all because I'd rather build an audience than to start with this spike and then having to artificially feed it over and over again. And the other thing, too, which is the one that's the most interesting book for me personally, because there's a subtle thing going on. We're working with coloring in a way that is sort of a step backwards a little bit. We've actually gone with very desaturated colors. And if you look at the book, you'll see that the colors have been pushed back so that the line art can come alive again. I feel that these covers, the coloring in the books have been so muddy and so overcolored and colored poorly with no foregrounds or backgrounds, that we really wanted to bring a color sense to it and a color palette that's actually much more easier on the eyes, but also lets the art really breathe. And the colorist on that is Alex Sinclair. And when we did it, he actually said to me, I have to relearn coloring back to the way I used to do it in order for this to work. But I think it's a lot stronger. And with the ash can we did, which was fun, what the ash can is what we did is we did it on the paper that we could find as closest to newsprint. And one of the reasons why we did that, we wanted that visceral feeling of old comics. We wanted people, and if you hold it, it's soft, it's fluffy, it's a little gray, it smells like paper. Exactly. And we want to connect to the love of comics through everybody's senses at one time. And that's sort of the logic there. Just don't taste it. That's all I ask. Okay.
I promise.
We got pork chops for that.
Yeah, and to that end, I'm sure your pork chops are ready for dinner. I don't want to have to keep you from.
That's it. I think they're ready. They're ready for about a half hour. They've been cooling on the stove.
Well, everyone, make sure you give us some hearts and some thumbs up, and send some personal messages to their page when they get it up and running. Share it so that everybody knows about this. And for the love of everything, tell your local comic shop that you want these titles so you don't miss out, because everybody knows the LCSs are ordering pretty tight right now, and we don't want you to miss out.
No, we want people, and we want people to. What I really want is people to read it and enjoy it. That's what I really want. That's the thing that's most exciting. I'd rather have less books sold with people reading and enjoying it than just people collecting and putting in plastic, never to be seen again. So there we go. I mean, we want to have some fun, and we want to make comics enjoyable again. That's where we're at.
Love it. Well, I'm super happy. I loved what I read. You guys should go and hunt down one of these cool ash cans. Thank you so much, Dan, for your time and coming.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always great to see you. Congratulations with the show, man, and good luck. And I hopefully see you on the road on one of these trips soon. Okay.
Someday.
You got it. Okay. Right. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us on The Experience. We'll see you again next time.